Way back in 480 BC, the entire fate of Western civilization was basically hanging by a thread, and it all came down to the outcome of a single epic naval battle. This is the incredible story of the Battle of Salamis, a fight that would literally define the future of a continent. So, here's the central question, right? It's the ultimate underdog story. You've got this colossal empire, just hell-bent on total conquest, going up against a tiny alliance of city-states with absolutely everything to lose. How on earth did one desperate last-ditch plan stop the biggest invasion force the world had ever seen? I mean, just look at these numbers. The difference is absolutely staggering. The Greeks were outnumbered by at least 2-1, maybe even 3-1. On paper, there was just no way they could win this fight. No way. To really get what was at stake here, we have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the Persian threat. This wasn't just some army. It was an imperial juggernaut. The Persian Empire, led by King Xerxes, was the biggest the world had ever seen up to that point. His invasion of Greece wasn't just a raid, no. This was meant to be the final, complete conquest. He wanted to absorb those rebellious Greek states once and for all. Now, it's true that storms and a few earlier battles had trimmed that number down a bit by the time Salamis happened, but the Persian fleet was still this colossal force with ships pulled from every corner of its massive empire. So for the Greeks, the situation was looking, well, it was looking incredibly bleak. The Persian war machine just seemed totally unstoppable. You see, a decade after their shocking defeat at Marathon, the Persians were back, and this time with a vengeance. Xerxes' massive army and navy had crossed into Europe, they'd crushed that heroic stand by the Spartans at Thermopylae, and they were just marching relentlessly south. And then came the breaking point. The Persians sacked Athens, the very heart of the Greek naval alliance. The city was left a smoldering ruin. For a lot of the folks in the Greek coalition, it really seemed like the war was already over. But one man, an Athenian general named Themistocles, had a plan. It was incredibly risky, super controversial, and it was about to change the entire course of history. Themistocles had this one crucial insight. He knew, absolutely knew, they couldn't win a battle out in the open sea. So he had to change the rules of the game. He had to figure out a way to turn the Persians' greatest strength, their sheer numbers, into their biggest weakness. And his whole strategy hinged on geography. The narrow streets of Salamis. That was the key. His plan was to lure the gigantic Persian fleet into this natural bottleneck, a place where all their extra ships wouldn't just be useless, they'd get in their own way. And in the technology of the ships themselves played a huge part in this. See, Persian ships were lighter, faster, more maneuverable, perfect for ramming tactics in open water. But the Greek triremes? They were heavier, more stable. And that wasn't a flaw, it was by design. They were built to be floating platforms for heavily armored soldiers, basically turning a naval battle into a fight on land that just happens to be on water. In the tight space of the straits, that gave the Greeks a massive edge. Okay, so the plan was brilliant, but there was one huge problem. How do you convince your enemy to sail right into a trap? Well, the answer was a spectacular piece of fake news. You have to remember, the Greek alliance was starting to crack. A lot of the commanders, especially the ones from the Peloponnese, they wanted to pull back, retreat, and just defend their own homes. Themistocles knew he was running out of time to hold them together. So he pulls off this incredibly gutsy move. He sends a trusted servant to the Persian king with a secret message. He pretends to be a traitor, claiming the Greeks were in total chaos and were planning to flee that very night. He tells Xerxes that if he just blocks the straits, he could trap and destroy the entire Greek navy in one single glorious battle. And Xerxes, he fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. The message just confirmed everything he already wanted to believe. He was so confident of victory that he actually had a throne set up on a nearby mountain so he could watch his fleet crush the Greeks. He was about to get a front row seat, all right, but to his own navy's destruction. So as dawn broke, the trap was set. The Persian fleet, already tired from a whole night of rowing around looking for escaping Greeks, started to file into the straits. The Persian ships just surged into this narrow channel. They were expecting to catch a fleeing, disorganized, and terrified enemy. Instead, they found the entire Greek navy, formed up in perfect battle order, just waiting for them. And just like that, Themistocles' trap snapped shut. The Persian ships crowded into the straits and immediately became a chaotic traffic jam. Their superior numbers were now a huge problem. The heavier Greek ships just smashed into them, ramming and boarding, turning the sea into this brutal, chaotic melee where their hoplite warriors were the masters. The result was a victory so total, so absolutely decisive, that it didn't just change the course of the war. It echoed through all of history. The scale of the Persian defeat was just mind-blowing. They lost an estimated 300 ships. That's a catastrophic blow to their naval power, not to mention the thousands of their best sailors and soldiers who went down with them. And the Greeks, in contrast, they lost only about 40 ships. It was an astonishingly lopsided victory, a real testament to the brilliance of Themistocles' strategy and the sheer courage of the Greek sailors. So, what did this all mean? Well, the consequences were immediate and they were profound. With his navy completely shattered, Xerxes' whole position in Greece was impossible. He retreated back to Asia, which ended the immediate threat of a full conquest. The Greeks then went on the offensive, and the battle marked the definitive turning point of the entire war. And that kind of leaves us with one final big thought. Themistocles staked everything, the future of Athens, of Greece, of everything, on a single, incredibly audacious plan. It was a gamble that not only saved Greece, but, you could argue, allowed the culture and ideas of classical Athens to survive, to flourish, and to shape the world that we all live in today. It really makes you wonder, what if it had failed?